Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. Today I'm going to be doing my 24 and 48 Readathon TBR. First off, if you've never heard of the 24 and 48, because I'd never heard of it before this year, it's basically a readathon that takes place over the course of a weekend. In this case, it's taking place over the 15th and the 16th. I will have a link down below to the Tumblr in case you guys are interested in more information. The readathon was created in response to the Dewey 24-hour readathon. Basically, she was interested in doing the readathon, but she knew that 24 hours straight wasn't really a good thing for her and the way her schedule works, so she decided to make it 24 hours over a 48-hour period. So basically the goal is to read for 24 hours within the weekend. You can split it up however you want, but just try to reach 24 hours total. So she explains it like some people do like 12 and 12, some people do like 20 and then 4. You know, you can split it up however you want and just read however works best for your schedule. And even if you don't hit 24 hours, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, nothing happens. But that's just the goal that you're striving for. So I have a pretty light weekend planned, at least so far. It's still early on in the week, so anything could change. But I'm going to try this and see how well it works. And I've created a giant stack of books. Now, I don't plan on reading all of these books. Like, it's not possible for me to read all of these books. But what I like to do, especially with readathons, is just make a giant pile so that way I can just pull from them. If I finish one book, I'll just pull another one, or if I'm not feeling a book, I'll just switch over to another one. I don't like having to like sift through all of my books to try to figure out what I'm in the mood for and things like that. I like to just make a big wide variety pile so that way I can sort of just look to that and then grab the one that works best for me. So first up, I am currently reading Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verghese. This is a bit of a slower paced novel, or at least the writing is really like beautiful and intricate, so I'm not like rushing through this book, but I'm planning on having this done before the readathon starts. But if I don't know yet if I will put it to the side and then pick it back up after the readathon, or if I'll finish it off, but this could potentially be something that I'm reading during the readathon. And then I have a couple of YA books I think I'm going to pick up. I have Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy and Don't Judge a Girl by Her Cover, both by Allie Carter. These are part of the, what's the name of this series? Oh, it's the Gallagher Girls series, that's what it's called. I read the first one last year during the readathon, I believe, and so these are like perfect readathon reads because you can just speed through them really quick. Then I have What We All Long For by Diane Brand. I need to read this book this month because I'm doing something for Hello Hemlock. I'm writing up something for them in December, so I need to read this book, so I'm putting this on the list because I don't know how this is going to be paced or anything like that, but if I can get it done during the readathon, that would be fabulous. Otherwise, I'll probably be reading this early next week. And then I always like to have like a giant stack of graphic novels or comics available during readathons. So I have Deadly Class Volume 1, so I have a very strong feeling I'm going to be reading this during the readathon at some point during the weekend. And then I picked up a lot of books from the library that are going to be due soon, so if I can read through some of these over the course of the weekend, that would be fabulous. I have Alex and Ada by Joseph Luna and Sarah Vaughn. This is a pretty new release, and it basically just follows this guy who gets this like realistic android robot, and I think they fall in love or something along those lines. I saw this at my comic book shop a while ago, and then I saw Sabrina over at Unmanaged Mischief talk about it in one of her comics roundups, and she said she really liked it. So the concept sounds really interesting, so I wanted to give it a try, so I got it from my library. And then I picked up the first volume of Why the Last Man by Brian K. Vaughan. This is just considered like general, if you like comics, you should probably give this one a try because it's considered one of the better ones out there. I've always heard really good things about this, but I just never gave it a shot, so I picked up the first volume to give it a try and see if I like it. And then I got an Age of License, a travelogue by Lucy Nisley. I read Relish, I believe in 2013, and I really enjoyed it, and then when I heard she was coming out with another one, I was super excited, but since I'm trying not to buy too many books, I ended up picking it up from the library so I can read it. Again, I really like her style of writing, I really like her art style, so I have a feeling that if I read this during the readathon, I'll be able to get through it pretty easily. And then again, just because I like to have a big pile and I like to have some variety, I have some books here that I may or may not read. The first one is Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. I haven't read anything by Margaret Atwood ever, and her 75th birthday is coming up really soon, so I kind of want to read something by her. And I own The Blind Assassin, but I've heard from like literally everyone that The Handmaid's Tale is a much better place to start, and The Blind Assassin is like more difficult or like more dense, or you don't really get a good sense of who Margaret Atwood is from that book. So I feel like I should start with what everyone has told me to start with and read The Handmaid's Tale. Then I picked up Gloria by Carrie Young. I don't even remember where I heard about this book. It could have been from a booktuber, it could have been from someone from Bookright, I don't remember. But I just remember hearing about it and then I went to my library and put a hold on it. But this takes place in Kingston, Jamaica in about the 1930s, 1940s. And it just follows this woman named Gloria who is basically just treated like a second-class citizen in Jamaica even though she's a black woman herself. And she ends up becoming friends with this Chinese person who lives in Jamaica, and it just sounds really interesting and just sounds super different from anything else I've ever heard about before, so I want to just give it a try and see how it goes. Then I have Redeployment by Phil Clay. This was a new release, or this is a new release. It was released in 2014 and it's currently shortlisted for the National Book Award, and I always like to read as many of the National Book Award nominees as possible because those are the types of books that I usually like a lot. It takes place during the Iraq War, and I think we're following a soldier or something along those lines. I'm not even completely sure, I just know it takes place during the Iraq War. And then the final one that I picked up, or I have in my pile that I got from the library, is 10th of December by George Saunders. I've been wanting to give short stories another chance. I do have a really hard time with short story collections, but I like Jhumpa Lahiri and there are a couple others that I've liked in the past, and since George Saunders is considered like one of the best short story writers in America, I figured he would be a good person to start with, or at least a good person to try if I want to give short stories a try. This might be a book that I pick up every now and then, like between other things, and just read a story here and there. I can't imagine that I'll get through the whole collection over the course of a weekend, but this will be in the pile. So yeah, those are all of the things I have in my pile. Again, I'm not planning on reading all of these books. I mean, I'll try, but I don't think I will just because of my reading speed. If you've read any of these books and you know they would be great or not great for a readathon, feel free to leave a comment down below letting me know that, because that is always super helpful information. You guys have helped me out with stuff like that in the past. Also, if you are planning on participating in the 24 and 48, feel free to leave a comment down below. I feel like the best part of these readathons is like knowing other people who are doing it with you, so it's sort of like this camaraderie you have of trying to read as much as possible over this specific time period. Or if you have any questions about 24 and 48, again, there's a link in the description to the Tumblr, but you can feel free to ask me if you have questions as well, but it's pretty straightforward. So yeah, that's all I have for now. Thanks for watching.